everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we've got a new set of packages from Woodland Mills, and we've got the blade setter and we've got the blade sharpener. So we're going to set this up and start sharpening some of our blades. So I think first thing we'll do is set this aside and work on the sharpener. Nice knife. It's glued as well.
Heavy stuff.
Okay, so we got a bunch of foam. Oh, instructions. This is why Maggie's helping today. Is because I'm not very good at reading instructions and following them.
All right.
Okay, so we'll get everything out and see what we got here. There's the blade.
Large print, large pictures. Love it.
Okay, so here's everything laid out. Now we got our grinding wheel blade, and she's organizing all the little parts in that tray.
So it'll be easier to pick up, and you won't have to look all over the place for them, and now all we have to do is not knock the tray on the floor.
First thing we're going to do is put all these legs together. And on these, it becomes pretty evident, but the bottom of the leg goes to the inside of the top of the leg. Otherwise, the holes don't line up. That's all I do, but what's on there? Okay. These are fairly specific as far as whether it's the front leg or the back leg, and whether it gets a lock nut or a wing nut or just a regular nut. And I'll tell you what, without two people, it'd be kind of hard to hold this and put it all together, I think. It's kind of like the old erector set when we were kids. And I'm sure that people have probably cut themselves on these pieces of metal. Right?
You could probably do each piece one piece at a time if you wanted.
Yeah. There's something to prop it on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot. And her little bitty fingers help a lot. We've got the stand set up. That might have been the most difficult part. But there's the front and the back. And so far all I could really tell you is the back's denoted by one hole and the front has two. The front gets the wing nut, and then there's a lock nut on this one. Everything else is just carriage bolts with regular nuts. So now we're going to put the actual motor assembly on it, the control box.
So it's right here.
It's very technical.
The control box. On the bottom of the control box, you have the three recesses where you put the bolts. Don't put anything in the middle one yet. That's what's going to secure your arms. It just goes through into there, and you just secure it. So the control box is now secured with the bolts just finger tight sitting on the stand. So proceed to the next part. So now we secure the advancer onto the arm with just one nut. Just put it on finger tight over there. Start putting it around in
And that's our thing with our 7.
As you can see right here, it has indentations for 7, 10, and 14 degree. So depending on whether you are wanting to do hardwoods, do general, or do softwoods, that's what you pick. Now, what we have here is, we have all hardwoods, so we're going to do 7. So that's something you have to adjust for you.
And in fact, our blades are 7-degree angle already that we've been using. So.
Then plug your machine in to make sure you get your good connections there. It's in there.
And here's where the fuse goes, and it did come with 2 extra fuses.
Yeah. And also, for your next trick, you get to put the grinding wheel on it. It's a big knurled knob right there. We just need to spin that off of there. Put this big monster right here. Okay, now.
Making it real easy with
Yeah.
your face in it.
Yeah. Just add a minor level of difficulty. So that, tighten that right up against there. And once again, that's just finger tight for me. So,
Okay, let me go ahead and tighten it down.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's on. And the depth adjustment rod is next, and it's basically these pieces. And you're gonna put that through, then this, then that nut, then the handle. So, it goes right here, slide that out. Just start feeding that through there. It's just one of them tricky little things that takes a few minutes. There's that one. And this nut, which will be the locking nut for the handle once you get it in place. According to the directions, you want to make that at about 7 inches. So, naturally.
And that's 7 inches from the base to the end of the nut.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go to about right there. I'm not going to lock it in, but it's just set for right now. I'm going to put the little eye shield on here. And we're back. He finally let me have the other Woodland Mills hat. See? And cute. Put the support arms together. We look at these directions. We have the HM126, so it's going to be this second hole right here. If you look at these arms, if you get confused, you can see they're offset. These only fit one way. Okay, you can't, they will not line up at all going that way, so you can't really mess it up. So you want it in that second hole right there. Now we're putting the rollers on the end of our support arms. They're mirror images of each other, so as you can see, just pop together like that. Little carriage bolt, another washer, and the wing nut so that they're adjustable, so you can adjust them for your wherever your blade sets on there. You put the support arms where they're going to go. They just mirror each other. For our next trick, we have to profile the blade. So, if you see this profiler, you want to use your flat on your motor side. What you need to do is profile this using a stone, not this. Never touch this to that while it's running. You want to keep this so you can your profile. Use your stone until this fits perfectly in there.
So for a power pack, I've got the battery off of our lift, which was pretty easy to bring over. And then I went ahead and threw a battery charger on it too, just to keep from depleting the battery. Getting there.
Oh yeah. As you can see, I've got just a little bit to go there. So just a little bit at a time until you get it where you need it to be.
it.
I got just a tiny bit.
Over there, yeah.
Yeah, right on that corner. Now. There's perfect. Now she fits. This throws a pretty heavy, fine dust, and you don't want to breathe that too much, so I use the sweeper to kind of catch that like dust collection.
Yep, while we were contouring the blade.
Contouring the blade, which contouring the blade, 3 or 4 minutes. That's about all it took for me to get that there. So put these up because at some point in the future it'll probably need a new stone, and have these put up and be able to shape the next one. In order to get these blades to roll through here, not catch, everything be smooth, your blades can get rusty. They get a lot of gunk on them from the belts. They get sapped from the trees and stuff. I'm just gonna wipe the blade down with some acetone to clean it up a little bit. I don't know that you have to do this, but it kind of helps to get some of the yuck and stick off of it. And I started at the seam, so I would know when I've been all the way around once.
Okay, so right now we've got our blade advance and we've got our supports all lined out. I think we got that pretty good. We did add an additional roller just because we've got plenty of them. And then one of the things we found out by reading too, if you ever fire it up and it's running backwards, you've got your leads wrong on your battery. Okay, and we're working on the blade adjustment and getting everything set just right. And I've got Maggie doing, kind of leading on this because honestly, she's smarter and has more patience than I do. You want to get everything adjusted before you ever turn the grinder blade on. And it's just a matter of going through each adjustment one at a time until you get it dialed in. Okay, we spent the better part of the last half hour or so adjusting this, and to do that we took the guide little ice shield off. But now that we're ready to start it up, we've got our seam so that when this comes down it'll grind on the back side of the seam, and we're ready to fire it up and try our first sharpening. Okay, we've been playing with this now for about an hour, but I think we've got it where we're happy with it. And we've pretty much mauled this blade. It may not be used. We got too deep in the gullet like twice because that acorn nut actually fell off once. Okay, and the back side of every one of these teeth is shiny. I've got my blade stop, or my machine stop, installed, so as that rotates around, when it gets over here, it'll flip off both these switches. Okay, and so one of the problems I had that damaged this blade was I did not have this washer back here, right? That blade has to sit down on the roller of it, not just being held out by the washer. So obviously if that's not fully seated and it's up here, it's gonna make the grinder cut further into the blade. And I've done that actually twice now. Once because this wasn't down there all the way, and then once because as I was adjusting it, the acorn nut on the bottom down there came loose and actually fell off, which allowed the grinder to work its way down into the blade. And of course they say keep your hand here as you're adjusting, so if it does start cutting, you can flip it up, which we did, but the first time it blew the fuse before we got it flipped up, and the second time it just cut pretty deep before it got flipped up. But we've got that right now cutting as little as we can on the front side of the tooth or the back side of the cutting edge. And then the gullet we're getting as lightly as we can, although it's still a little bit deeper than what I think I would want, or maybe ideal. I kind of wish it was cutting the gullet the same way it's cutting the back side of the cutting tooth. But at this point, I thought I'd just go ahead and run a cycle and see how it goes. I probably have ruined this blade, but that's not going to stop me from throwing it on the mill and seeing how it cuts. And here's the auto stop. I already sharpened all the way around. This will be my test blade. And I'll set up the tooth setter tomorrow. And again, I'll use this blade to practice on. Like I said, I might have already ruined it, but I'll definitely try it out. I'm pretty happy with the way this is set up, and now I'll do another blade tomorrow, and I think that one will end up being correct. So the auto shut off just comes around and ends up shutting off your switches. Pretty cool. Okay, so there's our Woodland Mills blade sharpener setup, and I'm real happy with the way that's going. And tomorrow I will get the tooth setter out of the box and get it set up. And again, I'll use this blade to get all those settings set and practice with it a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and run this blade on the saw, but I might have ruined it. And let me show you if I can get to it. So this is where the acorn nut fell off. And so it got into the gullet before I could get it pulled up. And that blew the fuse as well. And then I've got one more spot. I don't see it right off the bat, but I got one more spot that I kind of got deep. But most of this, like I said, it shined up the back side of the blade, which is the cutting surface, and then just a slight amount of the gullet. And like I said, I believe that, and I actually ran this around twice, just playing with it. But I'm pretty happy with that. I think it will do it. I mean, there's really no reason to run your grinder up this front side. So like I said, it just barely shines that up and then gets off the blade. So we'll see how this works when we get it in some wood. And of course I'll set the teeth, but this blade actually wasn't cutting too bad when I took it off the mill. I don't run them till they absolutely won't cut. And so hopefully that will work. Your miles may vary. Thanks a lot for watching.